Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I can see we've got some interesting people. We've got tech leaders, business owners, consultants. So we've got a nice mix. So whether you're building for your own business or you're thinking about how you can deliver for clients better, then the principles that we're going to look at today will all stay the same. So just as people are arriving, we seem to have a good group. But before we dive in, quick question. Just drop into the chat. Where are you joining from and your biggest tech frustrations? I know some of you already filled in some stuff, but where are you joining us from today and what are some of your biggest frustrations? I can see West London, I can see Manchester, so I can see a whole bunch coming through there. Um, And I'm just looking through some of the stuff you guys mentioned when you registered for the session in terms of your frustrations. Um, Collingham, just north of Newark in the East Midlands. Fantastic, Richard. Uh, Collingham, that sounds like an interesting place to go and visit. Um, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here today. Um, I'm Ilyas Khan. I've spent 20 plus years building business solutions. So I've watched brilliant leaders like yourselves get held hostage actually by technical dependencies. And that's really why I've put this session today. And hopefully I'm going to help you end that today. So in the next hour or so, I'm going to be building hopefully at least 3 working business solutions live on screen. So there's no slides, no theory. I'm just going to be building real time. So things might go wrong. I might mess up. That's the point. I want you to see what real building looks like. And thank you for those of you that shared your frustrations before joining. There were some key themes that came out that I wanted to touch on real quick before we dive into the session itself. So some of the key things that were emerging, or key themes from what you talked about, translation and communication gaps was a common one. So Abdul Hasib from Ellipsis mentioned kind of executive speaking directly to devs, things getting lost in translation. Khalil from Defra mentioned communicating complex landscapes to business stakeholders. Another common theme was speed and waiting. And hopefully that's a lot of what we're going to be looking at today. So Tom from IO Analytics mentioned speed of progress. Richard from Wider Horizons mentioned the speed of deployment. And we're going to look at both of those things today. Salim from Sabre Relief mentioned waiting for developers on IT. We all know that pain. Sorry, I'm not a developer by trade. I'm an enterprise architect. So I design and deliver solutions, but I work with a lot of expert development teams, and it can be fun waiting for IT teams. Another common theme was cost and resource constraints. So Rizwan from Mosley Consulting mentioned things like red tape, obstacles, costs. Kasim from DJ Rays mentioned resources and budgets, time spent on those types of things. Um, Another theme that emerged was tools being overwhelming. So Yusuf mentioned too many tools. The market seems a bit oversaturated. Michael from Meliora also mentioned too many tools. And the final one was there were some specific pain points around. So Haroon mentioned from Eaton Rose presentations and proposals. Andrew from Wax Lyrical mentioned legacy on-premise systems. So there's a whole plethora of things that people are frustrated with and that they've been having challenges with. And hopefully let's have a look at how I can help you in today's session. So quick show of hands. Who's currently waiting for IT to do something that should be simple? So give me a show of hands. You can just raise your hands on the platform. And this is a common thing, right? And this is something I've seen, yep, echoing. Thank you for the responses. Ben, Ali Tariq, Abdul Hasib, Tayyiba. This is something I've watched for 20 years. Brilliant idea on a Monday morning. IT says we'll look at it. 6 weeks later, it's still in the backlog. We're still trying to work out requirements. Meanwhile, your competitor launches something similar. Your idea dies in translation, right? But things have shifted. And especially over the last few months, we've seen not just the emergence, but the rapid acceleration of the democratization of tools. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean by that every single one of us on this call now have an ability to take control of our destiny as it comes to IT. And I'm going to prove it. By the end of this hour, we're going to have built at least 3 solutions that used to require weeks and months of development. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So a few of you mentioned tools and a plethora of tools. So I'm going to be using a select few curated tools. So these are tools that I've been using, that colleagues of mine have been using, and that we know work really well. So everything that I show you today is going to be something that you can follow along with in your own browser. You can have a look and test it out while I'm testing on screen and while I'm building on screen. And hopefully we'll be deploying some stuff, and I'll be posting the links so that you can actually then try that out yourself. And a big nod there to people from Birmingham. That's where I'm actually doing this session from today, right here deep in the middle of the Midlands, or the middle of the West Midlands. Right, so 3 solutions. What are we going to be building? So first, I thought we could build something that's web-based. So a common scenario that I come across that people have been talking to me about are things like landing pages, web pages, websites with contact forms, people that want to try a new go-to-market strategy. They have a new solution that they want to take to market. They need to get a page up quite quickly, but again, they don't want to wait to have that done. So that's the first thing we're going to be building today. Following on from that, we're going to look at a business app. So I've got a few ideas myself, but as we go through, I'm more than happy if people have got suggestions, if people have got questions. I've got Ali Ayaz with me supporting, organizing, so he'll be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A. If you do have anything you want to mention, ask about, feel free to raise your hand. I want to keep this interactive, so don't feel like you just have to sit there and watch me kind of blather on. You can join in, or you can ask questions, or you can make suggestions, say, hey, Elias, that's great, but could you build one of these things instead and put it to the test? So I'm more than happy to do that. So the first thing we'll build is a website or web portal type application. Then we'll build an application, so a standard application, maybe something to track projects or sales or those types of things that commonly come up in scenarios. And then the final thing we'll build is an AI agent. So agents have been quite popular quite recently. The demand for agents is increasing, and an agent we'll talk about as we move forward is a AI tool that can take actions, that can perform functionality, that can act similar to how a person acts in a process. So we'll look at all of those. Let's dig straight in. So the first platform I'm going to show you today is Lovable, and hopefully you guys can all see my screen. Okay, give me a thumbs up or a share of hands or something just to say that you can see what I'm showing you on screen. Fantastic, thank you very much. So Lovable.dev is fantastic for building websites, front-end type stuff. You want to do a proof of concept, you want to do a demo, you want to build something quite quickly, test it out and see what it looks like. So this is the first thing we're going to be using. All of the tools that I'll show you today have an ability for those of you that have development teams or have development partners. You can export the code of everything that's produced and give it to a real world developer who can add other things to it. And some of the things we'll talk about towards the end of the session are some of the limitations and where you might want to kind of use a traditional development resource to kind of boost what you're doing. But most of what I'm going to show you is deployable directly from what we build. So with all of the build tools I'm going to show you today, they work very similar to ChatGPT or those types of tools. So just to get a show of hands and a feel for the room, how many of you guys have used tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot? Fantastic. Can see some hands going up there. Brilliant. Abdullah, Lee, Kasim, fantastic. Was there. So a good few of you have used these tools. Zulfikar, thank you. For those of you that haven't used these tools, most of these tools rely on you talking to an AI chatbot. You tell the chatbot what you want, give it a question, it gives you a response, right? This is very similar to how these app building agents work as well. So if we take Lovable, for example, where we've got on screen, it's got a nice chat box entry point for me here to type in my requirements. So I can start to type in here what I want to build. And then as we start to move forward, I'll tell you what the app is actually doing. So I'm gonna, I think for this one, build a landing page. But if anyone has any suggestion and a specific thing they want to see in the landing page, feel free to shout out. Maybe you've had to build a website recently. So let's see, let's create a professional consulting services landing page. That will do. I want it to have a hero section. I want it to highlight, say, business transformation expertise, services, client testimonials. What else do we want? Maybe we want it to have a contact form. Let's make it even better with WhatsApp integration. Let's try that out. Let's see what it does with that. By the way, some of the things I'm going to try today aren't things that I've actually tested in terms of some of the nuances. So let's see how it works live and uninterrupted, as it were. And let's give it a modern design, focus on good UI UX. Now, notice some of you guys, when you mentioned some of your frustrations, you mentioned things getting lost in translation. Um, and so one of the things that this will do as soon as I give it a prompt is it will take it, it will break it down and work out almost like a business analyst does as to what does this requirement actually mean? What needs to be built? There's a question in the chat about does it integrate with models like ChatGPT? What I would typically do is I would put my requirements first into ChatGPT and get it to give me something a bit more expansive. I'm not doing that today just for simplicity, but a lot of the time I would use these tools in conjunction. So let's have a look. We've asked it for that. What I'm also going to do is use colors brand from image, and I've got an image. I think I've got a wallpaper or something of those lines. There we go. Let's give it one of those. So quite simple business type of language. I'm just asking for what I want. I've got spelling errors in there and all sorts. I'm asking for some complex stuff, and now I'm going to tell Lovable to go away and do that thing, right? So what we're actually seeing live on screen now is Lovable's taken that request that I've given it as a business user, is gone away and worked out what is it that I actually want. It's in the background broken that down into technical requirements. So it's done the type of thing your business analyst would do. Then let's speak to your technical lead who would work out, okay, what tech stack do I need to use? How am I going to do it? How do I need to structure this? And then they're going to go and speak to the developer who's going to actually code the different pages, and that person's then going to start coding, and then there'll be that loop cycle that we're all used to where it's going to come back up the chain to the business analyst or the person gathering requirements, and I'm going to say, oh no, I don't like that, can you change that? So what this is doing at the moment is it's taken that requirement, it's broken it down, so it's telling me, great, I'm going to create a stunning, this sounds awesome. And what we can see here underneath that is it's telling me that it's writing some stuff. I can see on the right hand side, I've got a preview window, and so hopefully as it's building stuff, it's going to show me then what it's built. And if I click onto what it's doing here, you can see that it's a developer. It's going away and developing and building this website as we speak. Looks like it's getting quite far ahead. It looks like it's doing some input stuff. Again, I don't need to necessarily worry about the code. I don't need to worry about the technicalities. I don't need to worry about the anything really. I just need to worry about, has what it's given me look good? Does it work for me? So let's have a look what it's given me. So let's use the colors. Okay, that's a good start. Unleash your business power. So it's got a nice header in there. Some of the colors seem off, so I can tell it to fix that. It's got some useful information in there. Tells me about consulting solutions. It's put some testimonials. I like the testimonials it's made up. Those look pretty cool. And now what I'm able to do now is it's telling me I've created a consult. And so we're not even like, how many minutes in are we? I think that was like 2 minutes. It's created the website. The way I want you to think about this stuff is it's iterative. So think about the first thing it gives you as iterative. So it's given you, yeah, I love the comment by Mubin. I'll address that in a second. This is really iterative in terms of I've now got my first pass. I can start refining it moving forward. So that's literally what it's saying. Refine and customize. I can now tell it to tweak the design. I can, sync this code if I'm happy with it. So I can, again, give it directly to my developer. And you can see it's got that detail in there. Let's see if what this actually does. I'm going to fill in some details. Send this. Okay, it wants an email address. Okay, so it's actually sending a WhatsApp message. Ah, that's pretty cool. So it's done the WhatsApp integration. All right, but I don't like the color scheme. I want it dark mode. So let's make this dark mode and also make the wording more impactful. Use NLP and guerrilla marketing techniques. I know I'm spelling things all sorts of weird ways, but I'm leaving that by purpose because I'm showing you how forgiving this stuff can be. There was a question in the chat about it's great for proof of concept, but it breaks by default. Fix it should be their tagline. I've used Lovable to create quite a number of things, to be fair, and a lot of the proof of concept stuff and actually full stuff is quite good. So I can give this directly to a developer now, and they can actually tweak it. They can get this live, or I could publish this directly from here, which is what I'm going to do. Before I show you it actually published though, the other thing I want to show you is for those that do like to have developers, or they do want to show things or give things to developer, or maybe you dabble in a bit of code yourself, I've got a toggle at the top of the screen where I can toggle between preview and dev mode. And I just want to show you this just to show you what it's actually built in the background. I'm not expecting you guys to understand code here, but in the middle of the screen here, I've got a folder structure of all the files that have been created to create this website. And then as I click things, I can see the lines of code that the AI has written to deliver that as a solution. So you can see it's generated quite a lot of stuff here, right? It's built out quite complex stuff. It's built and linked everything together. And this is actual code. This is actual usable code working and what I'm also going to do, there was a question around publishing, and publishing things is hard, right? Okay, great, I've built something, but I just want people to use it. So I'm going to publish this straight away. I like how it's I like how it's updated the wording as well. So while I was talking to you about that, it's made some adjustments that we'll look at in a second. But by clicking the publish button on the top right hand side, by just going with the default web address it gave me, I've shipped that, and this is now live and available. And I'll put it in the chat window so you know I'm not lying. This is available live on the internet to use. If I have my own domain, at this point, I could link my own domain name to it. So say there's a web domain I've purchased, maybe this is a new project or I'm trialing out, maybe this is a new product or brand that I'm trying to take to market. I've now got this page, I can stick a custom domain on it, and away I go. So let's have a look at what it's done to the actual page. So it's put dark mode on, it's updated weapons of mass disruption. So you can see that it's kind of, the website is actually quite interactive. It's not just a standard website. It does have kind of interactive elements and things in there, you know, and it's built some emergency hotline, right? So it's added that urgency and based on the wording I told it to have. But for a lot of people, you know, this might be a waiting list. So I know a lot of people like to try waiting lists with new products. But this is how quick you can have that live. And as you can see from the link I've given you, this is available for you guys to use and test right now, and it's available live online. Now, I could play with this now, I could tweak it, I could give it real wording, I could give it a real logo and say change the logo on the top for this logo. So I can give it images, I can give it files, I can attach other things, so I can attach things that make a difference. I can update information, so I can say, you know, update the footer to have the official business information for Cloud Search Solutions Limited. I don't actually know if it's going to go in and get the information, but I'm just going to see what it does. In terms of, there's a question in the chat about how complex can you build? So okay, cool. Just say I want an alumni membership website where people can sign up and use a forum. Great, I will do that. I will ask it to build that for you. If you do change any of this, so there are some more technical questions in the chat around, so the one from Samir there around if you change generated files, I'm going to go slightly tech for 30 seconds. So hopefully I don't lose many of you, but this syncs directly to GitHub for the programmers in the room that use things like GitHub where they store all their code. This automatically synchronizes. It's a two-way synchronization. So you can synchronize your code. You can open up your normal code editor, make changes, and it will synchronize all of those changes back. So absolutely, this is full two-way, and it won't get overwritten unless you ask it to overwrite something. So it's added some business information at the bottom, but you can see that address isn't correct. So I could give it some information now and take it forward. So that's example one. before I go on to example two, I'm just going to ask it to build what someone put in the chat. They wanted an alumni, get my teeth back in, membership website where people can go and sign up and use a forum, etc. Now, what I would do, and I'll share this tip with you. What I would typically do, someone asked about ChatGPT integration before. So I do use GPT quite heavily for generating requirements sometimes. So I've just flipped over to ChatGPT here. So you can see this is the standard ChatGPT screen. What can I help you with? And I will ask it, I want requirements I can give to an AI app builder to build the following web app. The benefit of doing this and then pasting what this gives me into things like Lovable is this is going to think about things that I wouldn't think about, right? So it's thinking already about, who are the users? I might want a guest, I might want a member, might want an admin. What are people going to sign up with? What details? I want a dashboard, I want a forum, admin. But so notifications, events much. So it's already thinking about a number of things that I might not have already thought about. So in this case, I'm going to use what this gave me. And let's go back to Lovable. And I'm just going to paste in. I'm not going to make it overly complex. I just had my summary line at the top, and those are the requirements. So I'm just going to give that to Lovable now. And what that's going to now do is, again, similar to what it did before, this will go away, read the requirements, understand what I need, understand what needs to be built, how it needs to be structured, and then start to build that. So straight away, I like the way it actually talks to you sometimes, right? It sounds like an exciting project that will bring alumni together. Yes, that's why we're doing it. So interesting thing, people mentioned things getting lost in translation, right? And we've already talked about things like speed and deployment and those types of things. But you can see here that it's looked at the requirements and it's assessed a few things, right? And what it's also then telling me is that it's going to draw inspiration from modern membership platforms. So because of what I'm building, it knows what other things are similar, and therefore it's going to go away and look, well, how can we make this really well? How do we make sure that it's going to have professional forum? We want it to have a clean academic aesthetic, refined colors and typography. So it's making all of this decisioning for me. Now, of course, I could tell it that I want something different. I could tell it to change it. But if I don't, what it's going to do is for this first version, it's telling me it's going to give me a landing page with a sign up login system. It's going to give me a membership dashboard with profile management. Great. Forum with categories, posts and commenting, some basic admin functionality and responsive design, meaning that this site, once it makes it, should work on both mobile, desktop, doesn't matter what device someone is using. The other thing I'll mention is that a lot of the time when I'm using tools like Lovable or Lovable specifically, as I mentioned, the concept of iteration, a lot of the time I will start with the basic functionality I need. So yeah, great. For example, I need a forum or I need a landing page with a waiting list. And then I'll start to add things that I want after it, as I mentioned, the iterative way, right? So even in this, when it lands, we can then go forward and say, actually, what we now need to add in is, and a common one, by the way, a good tip for people who are making demos, and hopefully we'll see this in a second once it gives me the actual page. I can ask it to give me a demo logon. I do quite a lot of demos and it's quite painful every time where you've got a logon app that you want to demo and you've got to kind of copy and paste usernames and passwords and kind of now I'm logging in as the admin, now I'm logging in as this persona, that persona, or have like different in private browsing windows where I've got things set up. All of that kind of goes away with using tools like this because I can quite quickly ask it to give me, quick logon buttons for demo purposes, so I can make it demo ready. I can also ask it things like to create a full demo mode with full sample data. So it's quite detailed in what you can give it, and we'll look at some of that in a moment. So exactly, I said it's giving me a logon page. Like how useless is that, right? Like if I'm demoing, I don't want to type in usernames and passwords. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Before I even get into what it's actually built, I'm going to say, make the logon screen have a quick logon for the different user roles to make it easier to demo. One click logon, please, and also the usernames and passwords listed. So this is, again, quite an important one and quite a good one for any of you who are doing demos. So always ask for a quick logon. So what that should typically do is give you these buttons saying log in as admin, log in as guest, log in as kind of manager. And also having the usernames and passwords listed there is quite cool as well, because sometimes you might want to log on manually. But you can see it's done that. So in the time I was describing to you what it's going to do, it's done that. And what I'll do is I'll publish this as well, just so that it's live and online, and I can put the link into the chat, and you can see that none of this is smoke and mirrors. This is all real. And we can also see what works and what doesn't work. So that's in the chat window for you now. So I've got my quick demo login buttons. I can log in as a member or can I log in as an admin. So let's log in as a member. And great, I mean, it's not very graphical, to be fair. It's quite plain, but I've got a dashboard, I've got a forum, I've got a directory, I've got a profile. It's very jarring, too much white space, feels a bit jarring. And again, this comes back to what some of you mentioned about things getting lost in translation, because ultimately it's a large language model based chatbot. It's an AI. It's a chat GPT built into app building in essence. I can be quite colloquial. I can tell things as I see it as a business user. Too much white space, feels a bit jarring. So what it's going to do is it's going to take that information and use that to hopefully do some updates and then refresh. So let's give that a refresh. So it's saying it's reduced the spacing using smaller gaps, tighter padding, and more compactable buttons. Okay, but as that, okay, it hasn't really done anything to the color scheme of the main page. So let's improve the color scheme of the main dashboard, forum, etc. Doesn't smack enough. That's technical terms, doesn't smack enough, doesn't hit me, right? But let's have a look at what's in there. So it's got sample data in the moment, so we can see some recent forum posts. Let's see, it doesn't let me click into them, so that's something I need to let it tell it to do. I need to kind of get the forum working properly. But if I if I click onto forum and then click general discussion, okay, it's started to build it. It's got some stuff in there. So at the moment, it hasn't built the low level page, so I can tell it to do that. I can say I need to see the actual discussion pages, build that out, please. Let's look at the directory. So let's see if this actually works. So if I search by Chen, yep, there we go. It does work. Mike Chen, I can search for him. Lisa, I can see Lisa Thompson. So these are all the members. LinkedIn profiles, message. Does the messaging work? So messaging doesn't. So, okay, fantastic. What if so question here about how easy integrations for payments. The one I'm going to show you for building an actual app, it's a lot easier. Even on this it is. So you can integrate. So if you've got things like Stripe or those types of things. So let's do that. Let's integrate Stripe for payments for a subscription. This is not a free forum. Design the pricing structure in pounds. Again, I'm being really lazy with my prompts today, to be perfectly honest. I would normally give it a lot more than that, but I'm going to tell it to make everything up. So I'm telling it I want to integrate Stripe for payments for a subscription. It's not a free forum. I want people to pay. So it will ask me more questions. It's put out a pricing structure that it thinks. It's asking me, do I have a Stripe account? Because if I do, I just need to give it the secret key from my Stripe dashboard, and then I give it that, and it will away go. What it will also do for those that are interested is it can have a database in the background, and that's what this green button for Supabase is. It can create its own database and have a database in the background for managing that. So it's asking me to confirm a few things before it moves forward, but yes, you can see that not only will it manage kind of integrations with payments, but it will also do databases and everything as well. So okay, so we've got a slightly better app. Works slightly better. Not as ideal as I'd like. I'd probably spend a little bit more time with this, kind of refining it out. But hopefully what you've seen quite quickly is whether it's a landing page with a contact form, whether it's a waiting list that you want to try a service on, whether you want to actually put the service out there, whether it's an actual portal, using these tools, you can build that very quickly. So let's now move on to a different tool and build a slightly different app. So this has been lovable. I would recommend this as a go-to tool for building web or kind of web front end type apps. Really good, works UI UX really well, and builds some fantastic stuff. Let's move on to then building something a bit more detailed and a bit more enhanced. So the next tool I'm going to show you, and this is another go-to tool, especially for those who are building what we know as full stack applications. Application full, has a web front end, has a database in the background, does all sorts of clever stuff. So maybe the types of things we might build a business app with. So let's build a business app then. So we've already built two solutions. Um, uh, and I'll come to your point, Dilawar, in a bit around caution and security. There's a couple of bits on that that I will tie together at the end. So business app, what are the common things I get asked for? And again, feel free to put stuff into the chat if you want. Dashboards. Okay, so let's create a business dashboard app with user login, interactive charts, key metrics, adding, editing records, also via upload. I want data visualization. I'm just asking it for loads of stuff with charts and graphs. I want it modern and clean in terms of its interface and mobile responsive. Oh, what is the dashboard for? That would help, wouldn't it? I want this as an app to manage. Let's be quite generic. Projects and operational delivery. And this could be anything. I could have asked it to do something sales related, for example, like managing my opportunities or managing my pipeline or those types of things. Now, Replit does something that Lovable doesn't do, which I quite like. And this is why I mentioned this is really good for large scale applications. Once I give it my requirements, the first thing it's actually going to do is it's going to plan. So one of the things you saw in Lovable is I gave it my requirements and quite quickly it was like, yep, I got it. I'm off. And before I knew it was building the thing, and before I knew it, it was there and ready. What Replit is really good at is it does the planning up front. So it does the decision making on what am I building? What's the purpose? What are the things I need it to have? So based on my prompt there, it's given me a plan on the left-hand side and it's generating a visual preview at the moment. It's given it a name and an icon. It's decided what the tech stack is going to be. So I don't need to worry about what the technology under the hood is going to be. And it's also decided what the initial version is. So it's going to be a comprehensive business dashboard application, as I mentioned. And then what we've got is a list of features. So let's see what it's saying. So user authentication, dashboard, project management interface, data upload functionality, etc., etc. So it's giving me all of these things. And what it's also telling me is actually after that first version, here's some other things that I think we need to add on. And so like, team collaboration tools notification, some custom dashboard widgets and stuff, and data export and backup. So it's having to think about things that I haven't yet thought about. At the moment, it hasn't built anything. This is all preview, so it's just saying that this is what I want to build. It's going to be a business dashboard. Once I'm ready, I can approve the plan. So I'm going to approve the plan. I'm going to say, yep, whatever you've said, mate, I'm happy. Go away and build that. And you can see a lot of the things I build tend to have, unless it's just like a landing page, tend to have some sort of logon. So you can see why I always ask for kind of demo logon buttons. So this again works very, very similar to what I showed you with Lovable. This is great for more detailed applications, what I call full stack, or what people call full stack applications, where it maybe needs a database in the background. It's doing some clever stuff, some clever functionality. It's not maybe just a website. But what the agent is going to do is, again, similar to what Lovable did, it's going to go away, consider its options. It's going to think about what and how it's going to deliver what it's going to deliver, and then it's going to start building out that whole project. And what we're going to be able to see as this builds out is if I just the agent. Okay, so it's still working. So we'll let it work away. It's thinking and it's building. This will probably take a couple of minutes. You'll notice some stuff popping at the bottom, and this is useful for the more techies in the room as well, because it does answer a question that Dilowa mentioned as well. There was a point there about API keys. So a lot of these platforms now, they will be quite clever in the way they store API keys, but we're also starting to see that when it comes to deploying these solutions, you do have, if I click deploy on this one, obviously it's still building at the moment, but just to show you, one of the things that it can do as part of the deployment is it can do a security scan. So this is something that I'm starting to see more and more in platforms. They will identify security vulnerabilities. It's one of the gotchas that I talk to people about when I'm helping them kind of do this within their own business. It's like, look, if you're building something that needs a level of security on it, it's probably a good idea to get it security reviewed or then the code reviewed by a developer. But what you've gone from is giving something like the website we saw to a developer, like that forum website, going away, getting something back in a few weeks that you might or might not like after they've spent a week drawing up the requirements. And even after all of that, you're still going to have to spend the time doing the security reviews and the code reviews and stuff. So this does shrink your time. And what you'll see for a lot of people and for a lot of types of businesses, that this is going to speed up the route to not only you getting your ideas out there, but what I would suggest is your route to cash. For a lot of businesses, what's stalling them is their ability to ideate quickly and get something out there to test. So I know a lot of people in the business community are big fans of things like waiting lists, right? If you've got an idea, you want to put something out there, you want to see how much demand there is, stick up a landing page, put a waiting list on it. You know what your product and service is. Let's see how much demand you've got. So again, doing things like that is really, really quick to do. But what you might still need to do in some cases is just get a bit of, dot the I's, cross the T's. But what that's going to turn into is instead of spending tens and even some cases hundreds of days of development time, that will shrink to maybe 5 to 10% of what that was. What we can see on the left-hand side, you can see this one's taking a little bit longer than Lovable. Lovable is a lot quicker. It's one of the quickest platforms that I use. But you can see that what it's doing is similar to what Lovable was doing. It's going away and it's building out loads of stuff. Now, again, because this is a more detailed application, it's thinking about other things. It's building out its storage, how its database needs to look, how it's going to be passing data back and forth, right? So it's doing all of that while we are waiting. So this is going to take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to let this go. But what I'm going to do is while that is building, I'm going to say to it, by the way, on the logon screen, give me quick logon buttons for easy demo purposes. That's the other good thing about this tool as well. Whilst it's doing an action, I can give it a new request and it will just, it manages something called a to-do list. So it just adds that thing to the to-do and I can just keep telling it stuff while that's happening. There was a question around what level of paid sub do you recommend? So whilst I let this go on, I'm just going to show you what level of subscription I actually have. So I'm just going to go to my account screen and let's go to billing. So this one is the real basic plan at the moment. So where does it show you all the plans? Okay, it doesn't. So this one is about $240 per year. And in terms of the usage amounts, what I would suggest is if you're trialing things, if you're testing things, then the starter packages for most of these products will start between 15 to 20 pounds per month. That's the type of kind of price point you want to think about. Once you're happy that this is a platform you want to use, then you can always increase that. It's similar on Lovable. So if I go to Lovable, you can see that I've used about 45 of my 100 monthly credits. But if I go to settings, let's have a look at plans and billing. So there's a free plan, which gives you 5 daily credits. And then there's a pro plan that gives you 100 credits per month for £25 a month, and you can increase that to however many credits you want. And it tells you what you get. The one gotcha, if you are using it for free, everything you create is classed as a public project. It's only once you're using the paid for service like I am, that anything you can do can be treated as a private project. There's an important distinction because a public project means that anyone else, any other user can go and remix your tool and say, oh, I like that. I want to create my own version of that, right? So if you are going to build something that's commercially sensitive, use a pro plan and again decide and start off with 100 credits, start to build and see how that works for you. This will allow you to use your custom domains and everything like that as well. They then also scale upwards in terms of their pricing depending on how you're using it. So we're going to let this app build. This is probably going to take 5 minutes or so. It takes probably about 10 minutes in total to build an app of this sort of size and nature. So instead of us waiting, because we've got AI building, I don't need to sit there and watch it build. Let's create the next solution while we're waiting for our business app to load and be created. The next solution that I'm going to build whilst our project tracking dashboard app is being built is what I mentioned earlier around agents. So what is an agent? There are two types of that I call, there are two types of agents that I like to kind of call out to people. One is what I call an internal agent and one is what I call an external agent. Now, the platform that I'm using here is called Relevance AI, so relevanceai.com. It's one of the best platforms for creating internal agents that can have external actions. Again, exactly as I was creating in Lovable and Replit, I describe what I want and it will help me build it. What do I mean when I say internal agents and what is an agent? So an agent, like I said before, is a automated AI-driven chatbot for lack of a better definition that will take actions on your behalf. So I can describe a task that requires a person to do things, maybe use different tools, maybe access email, maybe store things in files or access different things, and then do an action off the back of it. Now, this might be because I'm talking to the bot and I've given it some information and I want it to use that to do something, or it may be that I want it to react to something like someone, emailing in. So let's tell it what type of agent we want to build. So types of agents typically are things that you would use in a business to replace a process that has to be done by a human at the moment. And these can be quite simplistic or they can be quite complex. So let's say you are a helpful, let's go with customer service agent for a manufacturing company that also retails their own products. So say like a Wix or something, makes their own stuff and then also sells them, right? The company is Wix. Let's try that. Actually, I'll give it I'll give it a URL as well. But so let's find Wix's website. I think it's .co.uk. No, it's not. Let's try com. No, that's me being absolutely atrocious with spelling and remembering business names. By the way, for any of you joining who aren't from there, there we go. It's not Y, is it at all? It's Wix as with an I. This is a builder's merchant type of shop. So what they do is company is Wix. So what they do is they create and sell products to do with kind of DIY and those types of things. Company is Wix. Answer common questions about services, pricing, and processes. If the sentiment isn't positive, escalate to a human staff member, or if it's a complex technical query, say something like that. So what do I want it to react to? I want you to look for incoming emails on my Outlook. So I want it to take incoming emails. I want it to answer common questions. I want it to use information from the website. And if it's complex, I want it to escalate to a human. Not a very good prompt, mind you, but let's see what it does. So again, similar to the other tools we've been using, it's going to break down my requirements first. And the first thing it's asking is to confirm, should the agent only monitor a specific Outlook on inbox or multiple? And should escalations be sent to a particular team? Good question. So monitor one inbox escalations to a shared mailbox. There we go. So I want it to monitor one email box, say a customer care at, and I want it to escalate to another shared mailbox. Maybe that's something that an internal team uses. So what it's going to do now is it's going to go away, similar to what the others did, break it down. But this is doing something quite clever because it's building an agent, which is kind of an AI person in your business. I don't like where some of this is going, but hey, it is what it is, right? So an AI person in your business, and it's going to give it a name. It's going to give it some instructions. And what it's also working out is what tools does this agent need to have access to? Like, what does it need to be able to do? And it's going to put all of that together for me and then allow me to edit and make changes to the agent before I then test it. So this should come back quite quickly. Building these agents usually doesn't take too long. It normally takes at max a couple of minutes to get the first iteration done. So it's still analyzing and building at the moment. We'll let that continue. Again, similar to the other platforms I showed, these all have subscription options. But again, if you think about the subscription option, I mean, I personally have subscriptions to like about 5 or 6 of these different tools. And one of the things that I've noticed is you can get quite a lot done in terms of bang for buck. So it's created Myra, the Wix support monitor. So Myra will monitor an Outlook inbox, answer common questions, pricing and processes, escalate negative or complex queries to a shared mailbox. So it's created an AI agent. I can now accept or discard different things. So the name, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with the description. And then what we have is the instruction set it's created for the agent. And what you'll notice is we've got text, but then we've also got these yellow boxes. And this is where the agent is able to use a tool. And it's already worked out what tools it needs to be able to use. Again, if I don't like anything that it's put here, I can tell the agent. So for example, what I can see straight away is as part of its escalation process, it's going to send email via Gmail. I'm going to tell it for your escalation process, email should also be sent via Outlook so that it can make a tweak to that. So I could go in and make manual changes, or I can let the AI inventor make the changes for me based on what I'm requesting. So let's have a look at what it's actually built. So it's saying that the role and objective is to, as we said, monitor that box. So what's its instructions? It's going to use Microsoft Outlook to find email. So these are tool placeholders, and you can create your own tools, by the way, and it has a plethora, typically literally hundreds of tools. But if I click this, what it's going to say is I can invent a new tool, or I can accept the tool that it's given me. So I'm going to say, yep, I'm happy with Microsoft Outlook, find email, and I can fill in the inputs, or by default, it will let the agent decide. So for this case, in terms of which mailbox it is, etc., I still need to give it that, but the rest it can decide. So what I'm going to do now is connect this to an Outlook account. So quite easy. I'm going to select an Outlook account. I could log in at this point, so click add account. I've got a demo account here. I've logged in as anyway, so I'm just going to tell it to use that. And I'm going to say, yep, that's perfect. We are happy with that tool. And what I'll also do, oops, no, go back to build, is, and it has glitched. Has it glitched? No, it hasn't. Yeah, it has. It's glitched. It's not got me on the main page anymore. Oh no. Let's do it via this. So I'm going to accept the tools. And I'm not going to give I'm going to give the agent a task, but let me go back to the build screen because it hadn't finished that. And this is awesome. This is a live demo issue. I shouldn't be that happy, but this actually shows you that with some of these platforms, they can be glitchy. Now, Lovable, I've not really seen those glitches with you, so I've not really seen glitches that much on Lovable nor on Replit. Relevance, I've noticed on this particular screen, it can glitch sometimes. It doesn't glitch all the time, but it can sometimes glitch, and you kind of get stuck in this screen. But let's go to the run. So at this point, this would be plugged into a mailbox, right? So it would be waiting for a mailbox, and as the mailbox arrive, or as things arrive into the mailbox, it would use that as a trigger to run the action. But I'm going to run it manually. So I'm going to say email from test@gmail.com. Subject, I have a problem. Body, I can't find a good drill to use for home use. Okay, so this is pretending as if that I've given it an email now. Obviously, in this point, I don't have an email. I've not got this email box actually connected and got any emails in there. But what I would expect is what this bot's able to do now is take the email, and now it's generated the email that it's going to send back to the client. So, dear customer, I've not tried it on Wix before. Let's see. Thank you for reaching out for your search for suitable drill for home use. We've got a variety of drills perfect for your needs, both corded and cordless. And it's told me the popular options. So there's a lightweight drill, ideal for DIY projects. There's a 500-watt corded drill, known for reliability. And it's given me a link. It says you can find if you've got any further questions. So this bot would have taken that email that would have been sent to it, replied to your customer with a link, all done, and that's an agent ready to go. That's replacing something that probably a human's doing very manually and not as good. If you think about a human receiving that request, having the product knowledge, going away, looking for the thing, then coming back and then writing the email, probably using ChatGPT to write the email anyway, huge time saving there. So that's an example of the agent. And again, I've not got this hooked up to email properly, but if I just selected the options, this would have sent the email back. I could have tested this with a real email address. So Myra, the Wix support monitor, is not only up and running, she seems to be doing a fantastic job. I like the responses. Let's go back and have a look at what Replit has built. So that was Relevance AI, and that was building of agents. Apologies, before I move on from Relevance AI and building agents, there's a question around cost. You'll see that it's quite transparent around the credits used. Some things I like to test and see the level of credits it's going to consume, but most of these are very cost effective. If you compare them to the alternatives, they're quite cost effective. But it's useful for you to, depending on how much your automation is doing, what tools it's your agent is doing, what tools it's using, it might be more or less in terms of the consumption. The other thing is that when you're building this, it does have a choice on, so if I just go back to the build screen, this is the same screen we saw before where I was building Myra. There was an option on the top right hand side about which model it's going to use, and you can see that it says it's using a cost optimized model pick for me, but I could be quite prescriptive. I could say, no, I only want you to use, the latest O4 mini model or from OpenAI, or no, I like Claude 4's Opus, and therefore I want you to use that. So I can choose which of these language models it uses, and it will also kind of show you there as well how many credits per 1,000 tokens it's going to give you for each model as you choose it. So again, you can play with this, you can tweak it. The cost optimized model is about 0.23 credits for 1,000 tokens. I don't like the way some of these do their tokenization because it can be quite like you've got to sit there and do the maths sort of thing, but trial and test. But it will be quite a lot cheaper typically than paying for someone to sit there, I would suggest. So let's look at our app that's been. So before we look at the app itself, let's see what it did. So a couple of key points for the few techies that we also have in the room. It does make checkpoints as well. So every time it's going to save this code, it's going to create a checkpoint that we can roll back. So say I made it do a whole bunch of changes and I don't like them anymore, I can roll back. And also what it will do is you can see here, it spotted errors itself. So it says, I see there's an error here. Let me fix the issue. It's also fixing other storage interface and stuff. So it will notice where it's got errors. It will clock errors and it will fix them itself. So you can see that it's gone through a number of iterations all on its own. And what it's told me, it's built everything with the user authentication. And we've got all of that working. So let's log in. Quick demo access. Let's log in as the demo manager. Okay, this is great. It wants me to accept stuff in demo mode. All right. So what do we have here? So we have the menu. The menu is a bit off. So let's tell it that first. The menu isn't responsive, so that's just kind of sticking there. We've got projects in there. So I've got no demo data, so let's do that. So add a whole bunch of demo data and also fix the responsiveness shrinking of the menu. So hopefully it will go away and do that now. And while it's adding that demo data, just to kind of remind you, right? Building something like this that has the level of functionality where you're dragging and dropping files and you're able to do that. This could be weeks of development for in some cases, right? So and was built in about uh, 18 minutes is what it took altogether to build out that application. And you can see what it's done is it's now adding the demo data, it's fixing the sidebar responsiveness, it's also noticing other things that it needs to fix in the flow and in stuff as well. So it's going to tie all of that together, and in a second it should refresh the app. So while this gives me the final version of the app, hopefully, and I know we've got about 5 minutes left anyway, but that's about 4 solutions we've built. Granted, this one's just finalizing, so we've not really finalized this one yet. So we'll deploy this in a second, so that you guys can give it a play and give it a test. So I'll deploy that and put the link in the chat. But this is what's possible when business leaders take direct control over their technology timelines. And if you are a tech leader, so you're someone that's used to building solutions, you will be able to see how your life changes and how quickly you're able to solutionize, how quickly you can get proof of concepts off the ground, how quickly you can deliver MVPs to people without the lag that it used to take. I mean, even if you look at concepts like Lovable, if you're a business stakeholder and you're in a room and you've got this idea and you really need to help visualize it to someone, you can have that app and then that idea built out in a few minutes. You've got it visualized. By the time it's into a development team, because don't get me wrong, for a lot of people, they might see this and then think, great, Elias, I can get so far, but there's regulatory conformance my business needs to take care of, there's security, there's all sorts of things. So you're not just completely removing my dev needs here. And that's not what I think these tools are for. I don't think they completely remove the need for development. What I see these as empowerment tools. So what you guys as business leaders or as tech leaders or people in industry should be able to do is now move forward with things a lot quicker. And the barriers to you getting things done have now dropped considerably. Some people will look at this and automatically already see some of the things that they want to build. For others, they might be thinking about testing some limitations and those types of things. What I would say to you in terms of build it yourself versus use the experts, the build it yourself slice of the pie has just become huge, right? So you've gone from not being able to do pretty much anything yourself to now building full-scale applications yourself. There's always going to be a need where you might have specific technical needs, or you might have something that's just that little bit more complex where you want someone to dot the I's and cross the T's for you. That's fantastic and that's fine. I'm not anticipating that, projects will disappear completely. But what I'm anticipating is something that used to take 100 grand will cost 10 grand or 20 grand instead. Something that used to cost 10 grand is now going to cost a grand instead, right? So I'm seeing that 10x in terms of scale of solution delivery that hopefully people should be able to get. A few people have also sent me some private messages about going deeper. So I have thought about, and I think I am going to be putting together a full Velocify program, because there are a few people that have got some interesting ideas that they want to test out, that they want to build out, and they want to kind of become a lot more self-sufficient in doing so. So watch this space. If you have left a WhatsApp number or contact details, or if you're interested, then just drop me a message after the session. This session was really about proving what's possible. I want to now help you guys become unstoppable. So I'm thinking about putting together some sort of academy program, or maybe some intensive or something, and maybe putting together a community where you guys can share ideas with each other and actually help each other take the best out of these solutions. Post your questions, get quick responses. So I'm going to follow up on that. If anyone wants to kind of take advantage of that, send me a message afterwards, or I'll reach out separately. No hard sell, no pressure, but if you're tired of waiting for IT and you want to build, then let's chat. For those that have got any questions in the chat, I'll just have a look and answer some of those. So there's a few questions there. Thanks for the session. You're welcome. Two questions. Which tool do you recommend the most at the moment? So Lovable, absolutely recommended for web-based stuff. I use it quite heavily for a number of different things. You can see other things that I've built here. Definitely recommended. The other one that I absolutely recommend is Replit, especially for those that are a bit more techy. This has got quite a lot of interesting functionality that I haven't been able to show today for lack of time. The second question was recording it will be shared via email, but also there's a few things that I haven't been able to show today that I'd love to do a follow-up on. So it might be that I do some follow-ups with some slight tangents as well. The final question there was, have you taken this and got something developed from your IT team, knowing how your team consumed it or welcome it? Good to know. So yes, landing pages, web portals. We built a solution with someone. So there was a business that needed to get a project concept out there quickly. We helped them build an MVP that led them to getting investment and also the first part of their team. So they were able to hire a COO and a CTO just off the back of a lovable web app that they'd built, where they proved the concept. They were able to kind of really get people behind it. Internally in the team, we use it in various different ways. We use a few other tools as well. So I'm more than happy to kind of do that. Thank you very much, everyone. You know, this session would have been nothing without you all. We are at time. So thank you all for your attendance. Thank you for joining the first Velocify session. Chat's open for any questions. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, then drop me a message, or if you want to send a message through afterwards, and if you've got any questions or anything you want to talk about specifically for your business, more than happy to have a chat. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy building, and hopefully this is going to be the start of you guys really unleashing your power. Thank you and take care.